Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Hope everyone is doing well. We're now going to begin the event on fitness and Sikhi. So if you have any friends that wanted to hop on, now's the time to message them. So fitness is an important aspect of Sikhi. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was known to travel far and wide on foot. Guru Angad Dev Ji established wrestling tournaments on a daily basis within his court. And Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji increased the emphasis on being not just spiritually fit, but also physically active as well. Fitness is an essential component woven into Sikhi. This year, due to COVID-19, gyms have been closed and people are forced to stay at home. And then practicing physical fitness can be a little tough during these times. This is the reason why we're going to welcome our following guests. Jaskirat Kaur at Protein Smoothie on Instagram, Imanjit Singh at Singh Strength on Instagram, and Prabhjot Singh at Prabhjot Man on Instagram. For today's event on fitness and Sikhi. You can also find their Instagram handles in the lifestyle chat. And I'm going to get all the guest speakers to introduce themselves in the order I named them. So please unmute your mic and introduce yourself. In the meanwhile, I'm going to get Sing Strength to introduce himself. And
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I am Imanjit Singh. Thank you again for inviting me. I've never been on this platform before, so it's great to be here. It's fairly interesting to me because I haven't seen this platform, so I guess this is the new thing to do. So thank you guys for having me. Other than that, I live in Toronto, Canada, so in the Brampton North area. If you guys are from Brampton North, and you guys can just message me if you guys ever want to get together or ever in the area. But other than that, I have an interest in fitness. I've been I've really had it connected. I don't want to answer the questions, but I've had it connected and impact my life in a positive way. So, really, I'm not someone who really likes to share, but one of the things that I've been sharing nowadays after a bit of time off. So we did start up the Sing Strength page like a few years ago, and then I took around 3 years away from it because it wasn't really achieving the goals that I wanted, and now we came back with different goals and a different mindset and different attitude on why we need to promote this and why it's important.
thank you so much. That was a perfect introduction.
So yeah, I'm Jaskirat Kaur, known as Protein BB. I'm from Stockton, California, and I have a bachelor's in kinesiology, which I recently completed. I've been excited and I've just loved fitness for a very long time. Just ever since I was a kid, I've loved being physically fit and active, played a bunch of sports in school, non-competitively, and then I did play tennis competitively. Currently, my main and my favorite sport is powerlifting. And I'll expand further on a whole bunch of things once we get into the question.
All right, thank you so much. Now I'm gonna get Prabhjot to introduce. All right, Prabhjot, I'm gonna get you to take it away.
Okay. All right. So my name is Prabhjot Singh. I'm based in Surrey, BC, in Canada, and I am just finishing up my kinesiology degree at Douglas College. Um, I have plans to do physiotherapy afterwards, my master's of physiotherapy. Currently, I am working as a student kinesiologist as well, in the fields of active rehab, with injured clients through motor accidents, motor vehicle accidents, and we are getting into working with some student athletes, as well as just the general public. In terms of fitness, I've been playing soccer for the most part of my life. I still play soccer. I'm playing at a fairly high division. I play VMSL Men's Open Div 1. And I've been playing since, as far as I can remember, I think 7 or 8 years old. And that's something that's kept me involved in terms of fitness. Other than that, I just picked up working out just to kind of benefit my soccer side of things, and it just kind of stuck with me. But I guess we'll kind of get into more detail as the questions come out.
All right, thank you so much. I'm gonna get Amrit to ask the questions, and then again, please answer in the same order.
So, our first question for our speakers is, how important is fitness for us?
I would say that it is one of the most important things and one of the best things that you could do for yourself. To maintain a fit lifestyle along with a at least decently nutritious diet will help you in so many aspects of your life in terms of like strength and carrying things. It'll help you with work, it'll help you in any sports. It'll also help you mentally too. And it'll also there's just so many great things about it. I took a course called Exercise is Medicine, and it truly is, because I'm a like strong believer in preventative care. So with exercise, when you exercise, you could prevent a lot of issues that could come up, health issues such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. All these things could be prevented or limited if you exercise and have a decent diet, right? So just being physically fit and active will keep you healthy. It's just like there's so many things you could go on about all the different health benefits that you reap from it. And then, yeah, let me add, mentally, there's also a huge mental boost. There is this boost in self-confidence and self-esteem, and exercise is actually also known to help with depression and anxiety as well. So not only are you getting physical benefits, but you're also benefiting mentally.
So for me, if I can go now,
Oh yeah.
for me, eh, for me, the importance of fitness. So for me, like really, it started out when I was in second year university. I was probably around 6 years ago now. I was going through sort of what you call depression. I was a little too stubborn to like understand what it actually was. I had uh, not really got a professional judgment on it or anything like that. But really, what had happened was I was pretty much just spending all my time in my room, eating junk food, not taking care of myself. So with that, and I was not very much into Sikhi at that time either. So I was a bit away from Sikhi. But what happened over like that year is I met some interesting people and I started listening on SoundCloud to Gani Sukha Singh, and then I started getting sangat of like Singhs in the area and people in the area as well. So in that time period, firstly, I met when I met Gani Sukha Singh, I spent quite a bit of time with them, and then um, what I realized from him and what he told me was your physical body. It's like the horse that your soul rides to spirituality. So fitness really does come first in that aspect. And then in terms of the other huge influence on my life is Bhakt Jaswant Singh. A lot of you call him Bhakt Ji. He's in Toronto. He's a student of Vade Mahapurkh Sant Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji, Pindranwale. And he fitness is probably what he pushes more than anything. So Bhakt Ji, along with having such a deep rooted in Sikhi, what he'll push first on all of his students and everyone else, not necessarily his students, but anyone who comes to him, he'll talk about diet and he'll talk about diet and fitness first, because really you can't get to those spiritual levels that you need to get to without having a proper physical maintenance. Like you'll even notice it a lot. So if you're not like working out on a daily basis, or not necessarily a daily basis but a few times a week, and if you're not taking care of your body, when you're noticing it, you'll notice that like if you're not doing that, like I know personally my thoughts will go wild. Like I'll start thinking about the most random things and everything, and fitness really helps me keep that in check, and it really helps me stay grounded and keep it in check and keep life more simple, if that makes sense. And that's the same thing with food as well, right? So like when Pagtaji talks about a clean diet, and those of you that know Pagtaji, you'll know that the first thing he'll tell you is like, you need to fix your diet, you need to eat this, you need to do that. And but it all starts with diet for them. And ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ food ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਕਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, so different types of food, you'll notice yourself having different thoughts and different like motivations, and it does impact everything. But if you're not like, if you haven't gone through that, you won't notice it either. So if you haven't gone through that process of cleaning up and really focusing on it, it won't really affect you and you won't really notice it. So I would say that it is the first step, I would say.
All right, so I guess I'm next. Amanjit and Jaskirat Kaur did a really good job. They really covered all the points. Not really leaving many left, but I will try to focus on just the everyday thing of life, with fitness. Just to start off with, I mean, fitness at the end of the day will lead to a healthier life in terms of mentally and physicality, right? You just get to enjoy the little things of life, right? I'm just gonna go all over the place at this point. I didn't really have this written down because I'm just trying to focus on one point. Especially so one thing I noticed is when it comes to diets, right? Diets and eating and clean eating and nutrition, right? A lot of that, the misconception is you have to eat clean, right? To lose weight, to look good or feel good, right? But along with that, fitness is a huge portion of it, right? I mean, yes, they do say it's 80% nutrition, 20% fitness or exercise, but that 20-30% of fitness does have a huge impact, right? It allows you to eat the things that you want to enjoy in life. You don't have to go on strict diets, right? It's all a number-based game. It's all calories, right? Calories in, calories out. And fitness allows you to burn those calories, which then allows you to eat certain foods that, are okay. Biggest thing I think is, along with the whole nutrition side of things, it really helps you improve your mood. It boosts your energy. It promotes better sleep, right? Throughout the day. If you can get fitness, whether it's in the day or it's in the morning or it's in the evening, right? If you can get at least 1 hour in, it will really go a long way. That 1 hour is just put aside for fitness, and it really helps you collect your thoughts, right? Just go through that workout and come back just feeling a little bit more fresh, right? Um, in terms of benefits to the body, I mean, it's endless. Like Jaskirat Kaur said, preventative, right? Things of fitness. One thing I want to touch on is just core strength. Core strength goes a long way. Every now and then, we all drive, we all get into accidents. I'm gonna focus a lot on this because I've worked with active rehab cases through ICBC, and I've seen so many cases where, some injuries can be prevented. Me myself being in a T-bone accident, the one thing I can vouch for is that my core strength and my lower back had saved me in that accident because I came out of it clean. Right? In most cases, you would have an injured back or some sort of injury that could, prevent you from living a good life. And that's what I was happy for. And that's what happens. It goes a long way when you have that stronger core, stronger lower back, right? It's just small exercises that you can do every day that will definitely go a long way, along with other health benefits, right? Like heart disease or chronic diseases that in the Punjabi community we are known for because of our diets, right? Because of the lack of fitness. A lot has changed over the years. Thing is, we are not changing those habits that we had from the past. The fitness has changed since the past. And along with that, just every day, a small portion of fitness will definitely go a long way. Let's end off with that.
Thank you. Our next question for the speakers is, what are your thoughts on supplements, and what are some vegan and vegetarian options for supplements?
So gym supplements seem to be pretty famous, and I'm just going to say this right now. They're not absolutely crucial to your fitness. You can get by without gym supplements. They are as their name says, just supplements, so meant to be supplemented in only if you need them, if you're not getting certain vitamins or nutrients or your macros from your daily diet. But that being said, I think supplements are great. I've taken different types of vitamins like multivitamins, B complex, and then in terms of actual gym stuff, I've tried 3 different types of protein powders. I've tried the Quest Nutrition, which that was terrible. I hated how it tasted. I moved on to Bomar Nutrition. Bomar Nutrition has a couple different types of proteins. So if you want vegan protein, they do have a line of vegan proteins, and they actually came out with a few new flavors. I think they have maybe 6 or 7 different vegan flavors now. If you're not vegan, you want something vegetarian, they also have their whey proteins. If you're into eggs, they also have an egg-based protein too. So there's 3 different types there. They also have like protein popcorn, they have protein bars, right? So it's not too hard, it's not difficult finding protein sources. I moved on from Bomar Nutrition onto the standard, the staple Optimum Nutrition. I think pretty much anyone who works out has tried this or is currently consuming this whey protein. And this one I get from Costco for like $35-40, I think. So in terms of protein, there are the different ways. There's vegan powders made out of pea protein. There's also the whey. There's a couple different types. And then in terms of other supplements such as aminos and creatine, I do take creatine and I have taken aminos before, but aminos aren't really crucial because amino acids are what build up proteins. So if you're consuming enough protein in your diet, or if you're drinking protein shakes, you don't really need aminos because it's the same thing. But then with aminos sometimes comes energy, so they have caffeine in them. So for example, pre-workout. I've taken a few different types of pre-workout from a few different companies, such as Women's Best, and I've tried C4, the original. I think pre-workouts are great if you need a little energy boost, if you don't want to pay for pre-workouts because they can get expensive. Black coffee is a great option. I'm not a coffee person, so I'll just stick to, the tangy flavors. And then there are also other supplements, little vitamins and pills, and then along with steroids. And I mean, as long as they help you meet your goal and you're being wise with them, go for it. But definitely do your research before taking any sort of supplement. And don't trust the people at GNC because they're going to try to sell you stuff. Ask your doctors, do your research on published articles and such. I'll pass this on to Baji.
So for me, again, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm not going to speak too much. I think this is more of an advanced question. I think it's a highly, even among professionals, it's a highly debated subject in terms of supplementation and all of that. So I only know what I do, and even in like what I post and stuff, I don't really talk about anything other than I do. I don't really give people advice. I just share what I do. So although similar in that sense, what I've been doing with my diet for the past few years is, first of all, my goals aren't really to have a six pack or become as lean as possible. My goals are really strength and endurance driven. So really pushing myself there and trying to. We do have a competition coming up, so really my diet and supplementation is really based on that. Uh, I'll speak to just vegetarian supplement options, just in terms of it is sometimes hard to find. So there's a few things that I use. I do use. I'll tell you what protein powder I use. I'm not saying that it's the best or the one that you should use. I'll tell you why I use it. It's called diesel protein. It's from it uses New Zealand whey, and the reason I use it is because I'm not really sure what's in the milk that we drink these days in North America, and New Zealand has the highest like milk standards in the world. So all their cows are grass fed. It's all pasture raised, grass fed, and that makes me, I don't know if it's necessarily more beneficial, but it does make me feel better about what I'm drinking. Obviously it is more expensive, and that's just what I drink. But other than that, I try to get most of my nutrition from the actual food that I eat and actual meals that I eat. So I'll eat a lot of dahi. So I'll eat probably in a day, I'll eat like 7 cups of dahi. So I'll eat that in 3 different meals. I'll also have Greek yogurt with that. But with proteins, it's like you want to kind of like switch it out and change it through over time. You don't want to like stick to the same thing for more than maybe 6 months. So just like change it in, change it out, which is, I think it's beneficial. That's the same thing with, I feel, exercising. Variety is a good thing. So with that, also hemp seeds and flex seeds are something that I've been using lately a lot, and those I've felt like they help add, especially people that are trying to gain weight or gain muscles, people that are naturally skinny. It's an easy way to get in calories. So like Paji said before, it's really a numbers game, and nutrition for the most part is a numbers game. uh, I I also would encourage everyone, don't be too strict on like your diets unless you have certain goals, unless your goals are like, I want to be a bodybuilder and I need to look a certain way. If that's your goal, then go for it. Then you're also already in advance and you know what you need to do. But other than that, I would say take it easy. Don't be too hard on yourself, but try to get a nutritious diet. I would think the biggest thing that you should take away from this is not necessarily supplements or what you should be eating, it's what you shouldn't be eating. So I would say avoid the fast food as best as possible once in a while if you need it, but don't make it like your staple, like you're eating it every single day. So avoid the fast food, avoid the stuff that is like highly like processed. So if you're, whatever you're eating has like more than like 15 ingredients, then it's probably not the right thing to be eating. So just take a look at that, take a look at like all the stuff, like is the ingredients of the what you're eating, are they things that you recognize, and just have a look at that. Try to eat as much like fruits and vegetables as much as possible. If you have a garden, try to eat from that as much as possible. I'd say that's what I do. And again, up to you what you want to do.
Awesome, Imanjit Singh, that's very good. I'm just gonna also kind of go based off experience. I'm not an expert in any supplementation. And just like Jaskirat Kaur said, you should definitely, talk to doctors and do your own research first, especially when it comes to pre-workouts. It is definitely recommended. Everyone has their own tolerances, right? And don't go based off what someone else says. Taking what works for you, right? And yeah, so supplementation, just like Jaskirat Kaur said, is merely supplementation. It is not a required substance, right? It is just to supplement your diet. Being a vegetarian, we don't necessarily need it, but it is tough to get protein in. So I do take protein as supplementation to supplement my diet to get in those protein quantities that I have written out for me. I'll kind of go from protein to pre-workout to BCAs. I'm just gonna go through everything and explain things as to the best of my abilities. When it comes to protein, the way I look at it, think of it. One example that was given to me was, I mean, it doesn't really relate to us, right? But we can obviously replace the word chicken, but it's basically the same thing as having, or let's just say we have chicken or tofu. We pre-made it in the morning, and someone that has a day job or something made it as a meal for lunch or dinner or something, right? And that's whether it's tofu, whatever it is, it's a prepared meal that's sitting outside in it, in a tub. And the whole purpose of that meal is to get that protein in, right? But instead of having that, if you can have a scoop of whey protein, right, as supplementation, that's essentially what the role of protein is. And don't get me wrong, yes, whatever that meal was, it must have, I mean, the calories and the nutrition values of that meal is far greater than just a scoop of whey protein. But what I'm trying to get to is that a scoop of whey protein, if it can replace 30 grams of protein, it's the ease, right? if you can throw that into a smoothie in the morning or have that as a post-workout shake, right? But that's not something you can live your life off of, right? You still have to get your calories in. You still have to get the nutritional value out of foods, right? Your vegetables, your fruits, and other protein sources. So where can you get those protein sources? Being a vegetarian, I'm not vegan, but I am a vegetarian. I get asked this a lot, and honestly, my best answer is it's tofu and soy, right? And there are studies behind tofu and soy. I have done my research in them, right? Like I said, don't quote me on it. You can do your own research, right? But there are very little to no side effects or of having too much soy. I mean, everything I've read, it's not even close, right? So, what are my tofu and soy sources? It could be anything from paneer, tofu, to veggie chicken. So one company that I really like is, like I said, this is going based off my experience, taking what you can and what you like. Is from Walmart in Canada. It's YVES. I really love their food. Why? Because it's just easy to make, right? They have burgers containing 16 grams of protein, right? Veggie chicken nuggets, 4 pieces, 16 grams of protein. So just in one meal, that's 30 grams right there. Have some fries on the side, right? And once you add everything up, one meal can roughly be 50 grams. So it all adds up, right? I mean, yes, when we compare ourselves to non-vegetarians, I do this a lot because a few of my friends are non-vegetarians, so we compete, we work out together, right? So we're all just kind of competing against each other, and we'd be sitting on a table, having dinner, for example, or at a barbecue, right? And one of my friends, Avdeep, he can have 10 pieces of chicken, and what am I gonna eat? I'm gonna have pizza, right? That's just it. They ordered pizza that day, and I'll have 5, 6 slices, right? Let's just say he's getting in 110 grams of protein right there. Out of the pizzas I ate, I probably got 25, 30 grams. So that's the biggest difference. But that doesn't mean you can't make up for those calories, right? I usually have smaller portions, or I do have big portions, but I'll have more meals in to add up. So, like I said, going back to my point, that burger meal has given me 50 grams of protein. Going back on Imanjit's point, one staple in my life every morning is a protein smoothie, and it can change depending on what your goals are. Right now, I'm not too worried about my calories, so I do throw a bunch of extra stuff in there. Just to kind of give you a rough outline, you can write it down as well. But the base layer is oats, and then I have a mixture of pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, and chia seeds. All 4 seeds have their own nutritional values, right? Hemp and pumpkin being good in protein, right? And the other 2 have a good omega-3 sources, right? And omega-3 sources is something that we need because we don't eat fish. We don't have fish oil. So we don't get that from that. We need omega-3 in our lives. We need B12 in our lives. So we need to supplement, right? And flaxseed and chia seeds are great in that. My dad had a high level of cholesterol. Ever since I told him to start taking flax and chia seeds, a year later, the report came. It was much lower. And that's what it is. Because omega-3s are good for that. So anyways, sorry, I kind of went off topic there, but oats is the first thing I have as a base. Then I have the 4 seeds, right? 2 tablespoons of, just a mixture of them, followed by a scoop of whey protein. I'll get into what protein I have in a sec. Followed by 2 tablespoons of yogurt, maybe 3, right? And then fruits, frozen fruits. Throw some ice cubes in there and some orange juice. Top it off with some water if you have to dilute it a little bit. But anyways, mix that up. That's my morning smoothie every day. It's not too high in fats or anything. It's good. It's healthy. It's easy to get in. And I'm not much of a breakfast guy, so a smoothie just does the job for me. I'd rather have a big lunch afterwards. In terms of the whey protein I used, Jaskirat mentioned a few. Protein doesn't matter. Whey protein is whey protein at the end of the day. But to some extent, right, if you do have goals in mind, or if you have certain things that you look for, like Imanjit said, right, New Zealand whey protein is considered one of the highest, one of the best value. Then you can look into that. The proteins I have taken are IsoGold. That's my daily. I've been taking IsoGold for the last 2 or 3 years, right? Each scoop has roughly 30 grams of protein in it. And the reason I take Isogold is I can name 10 proteins I've had over the last 6 years, but it's because I love the taste. Taste doesn't matter, I know, but if it does matter, it does matter. Because you just can't take down a protein shake if you don't like the taste. At least I can't. And Isogold chocolate is amazing, like for a post workout. And I have Isogold vanilla for my smoothies. Right, it's easy to mix in. Isogold is the one I go off. Diesel is very good. Imanjit Singh mentioned, very good. Whey Gold Standard, obviously, it's really good. These are pricey, right? But what I usually do is I get four or five tubs because my brother works out as well, and my mom and my dad started to take half a scoop of protein every day as well. So they kind of got onto it as well because it's a supplement, right? And so what I do is I usually get them on sale. Best time is just get 3-4 tubs when it's a sale, right? And you save a little bit of money there, and it goes a long way, right? So those are the proteins I go based off. There are vegan sources as well, right? There's other protein sources as well. Honestly, you can sometimes they'll let you sample it out, sometimes not, but go based off what you like, right? What you heard good stuff off, right? Do your research, right? And any protein, I mean, at the end of the day, protein is protein. So do your research on that. Going forward to pre-workout. Sorry, I'm taking this a bit long. You guys can cut me off whenever. But pre-workout, I've taken a handful of pre-workouts. I've been playing soccer for the most part of my life. I started working out, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. Consistently last 2 years. But regardless, that's working out, 5-6 days a week. And for the most part, every week you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Right? Yes, numbers are changing. Yes, your physique is changing. Your circuits are changing. But at the end of the day, you're still going in. You're doing the same warm-up, doing the same exercises, just different quantities of it. So, do we need something to kind of boost the mood? I essentially do. All right. I've used pre-workout just as a source of, getting the energy boost. It's like when you get tired of something, but you don't want to be tired of it. Pre-workout does a good job at that. There's pre-workouts that vary from 100 milligrams of caffeine, which is basically a coffee, to 200 to 300 to 400, right? So go based off your tolerance. And yes, that tolerance will eventually start getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What I suggest is when that tolerance starts to go up and you stop, you don't notice that caffeine anymore. The safest way to go on about that is take a step back. Take 3 to 4 weeks off pre-workout and work out without it. That gives your body a chance to adjust. Not get too used to caffeine and just kind of reset itself. So a month later, you can get back on pre-workout, or maybe 2 months, or whatever you feel necessary. That's the best approach, right? But eventually your tolerance will go up. You'll start taking pre-workouts with a few other things in them as well. Just to kind of this beta-alanine. There's creatine. There's one more thing that's kind of the tip of my head. But anyways, there's benefits to them. The benefits to them, like I said, it all depends from person to person. They add a little bit of tingly feeling, right? Jitterness. Caffeine does as well, but this is just taking it to a next level. Some people like that, some people don't like that, right? Some pre-workouts also have things that create more of a pump, more blood flow. Some people like that as well. It's all based off person to person. There's pre-workouts that have no caffeine in them, and they're just merely a muscle pump. So do your research, do what's best for you. If you would ask me what pre-workout I take Dimetize. Forgot the company that makes it, but the name is Dimetize, and it's a great pre-workout. I've taken C4 Ultimate. It's a good pre-workout, and another pre-workout that I have taken is Total War. Right, like I said, this is something that goes based off person to person. These ones do have a little bit of a higher caffeine tolerance, but for me, I feel like it's just been a build up over the years, right? I work out roughly 6 days a week. it ends up being 2 hours, 2.5 hours on average. My workouts, that includes a warm-up, and that includes a cool down.
Should we answer some of the questions in the meantime?
Anji, we can do the next question, which is, well, what are some misinformations in the fitness world and within the South Asian community about fitness?
So there's actually quite a bit of misinformation out in the fitness world. Some of the more common
Okay.
things are.
Oh, sorry. You keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so some of the bigger misconceptions include things like the diet pills, things that you see celebrities advertise along with like waist trainers. I tried waist trainers a while ago. They did nothing for me. But the ones that I really want to hit on are the fact that a lot of people think cardio is the only form of fitness and it is the most important or the most beneficial. And people think that strength training is actually dangerous. One of the biggest misconceptions within strength training, the thing that a lot of people fear is that squats are bad for your knees, or squatting past a certain depth is bad for your knees, which is definitely not true. If anything, it's going to help build up your range of motion, your flexibility, and your strength. And then a third really bad, I think a pretty messed up mindset that a bunch of people have when they get into lifting is that if you're not sore or if you're not vomiting by the end of your workout, then you didn't work out hard enough. I think that is one of the most dangerous mindsets a person could have when they enter this field of lifting, because if you feel the need to vomit at the end of every single workout or you're not satisfied, then you're going to harm yourself more than you're going to see any good out of your exercise, because you're going to be you're going to mess up your digestive system. It's bad on your mental health too if you're just vomiting all the time, because you're going to start associating these two things together, and then all of a sudden exercise becomes this negative thing. And then I'm going to touch in more with the South Asians. Being a female, a lot of people told me before I started getting into lifting that I shouldn't be lifting because lifting is dangerous. It's not for girls. Girls don't look good with muscles. And one thing that a lot of Desi people don't understand is that the fact that women can't even build enough muscles to look as bulky as a guy. I'm trying. I really am, but I can't get as big as a guy because I struggle eating, but also because I don't have as much testosterone. So this fear that a lot of women have and a lot of parents have for their daughters is that when they start lifting, they're worried that their daughters will become too, bulky, look too muscular, it won't be attractive. And so a lot of girls skip out on lifting heavy because of this. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here squatting 185 pounds, 195. Actually, no, I hit a 205 PR on my squat a while back, and I have 240 on my deadlifts and 100 pounds on my bench. And I look as petite as almost any other girl. Um, so I think one of the biggest misconceptions there is that women need to learn that it's okay to lift heavy, that it's not going to change up your physical structure too much. If anything, it'll improve you in ways of like improving your posture. It's going to improve your self-confidence. It'll improve your strength. So when you're carrying things around, one of the biggest issues I've noticed within all the auntia that I've seen, including my own mom, is that they have back problem. Which auntie doesn't have back problem? She's lucky, right? Because all these aunties, they do a lot of things like lifting patile, or taking care of kids is just really strenuous on your back. And because our bibia in the Panthan, in our culture, they don't lift, their back muscles wear out pretty quickly, and they start, daily things become hard for them. Picking up a baby all of a sudden is a challenge because they don't have the strength to do it. And so I think women need to stop, or BBA need to stop skipping out on strength training because of fear of how they look physically, which the fear that they have isn't even going to happen for the most part unless you supplement, and you use steroids, or I guess if you have any other condition. But yeah, apart from that, I think you know, lifting is considered a guy's sport, and guys guys get away with it. It's kind of normal to see a guy lifting, but for women it's not. And I really wanted to kind of touch on that point, and I'm more than willing to discuss this further. But yeah, I want to move on to some other points too. I want to go back to the strength versus cardio. You need both cardio and strength training. Cardio is great for your endurance. Your heart is a muscle. You can train your heart by doing cardio. You can't you can't, lift weights with your heart. That's where cardio comes in. But then you also need to lift weights so that your body is able to tolerate a lot of things. And then if you want to bring Sikhi into this, if you go back and you listen to Prachin Panth Prakash Katha, the one written by Bhai Ratan Singh Pangu, they talk about how Guru Gobind Singh Ji used to condition the Singhs, like back in the day, jado Singh jang ch ladde hunde si, they had to be physically conditioned. And based on what I heard from Panth Prakash, Guru Sahib used to make the Singhs run 50 to 100 miles a day. That was their cardio, and that was over uneven terrain. And then they also did strength conditioning, so they did it's called, some people call it Hindu push-ups, some people call it fish push-ups. So there's that. Then they did squats and rope climbing, and then swinging like sotte and stuff like that. And their rep range was insane. I recently came across a post which was made by a Gatka Akhada group in Ludhiana, and they said that the Singhs in the time, the Pulwan used to do 700 to 1,000 reps of whatever exercise it was. So the fact that, people are saying, you should only stick to cardio or only stick to strength. You need both of these things. You shouldn't discredit either one. Do enough cardio, you won't lose your muscles. If you do a decent amount, don't overdo it. Also, don't skip out on strength training and think cardio is going to be there for everything. You got to find this balance when working out. I think that is all I want to touch on for now. If I think of something, I will post it in the chat.
I'm just curious. I'm not sure if we can do this on this Discord. I just kind of wanted to just get like a lay of the land in terms of how many people are actually working out actively and actually physically fit, or are most people kind of in the beginner stage and don't know where to start. I'm not sure how we would do that, but just in terms of misinformation in the world, in the South Asian community, I think it's fairly similar in terms of both. The misconceptions are always fairly similar. I think not really necessarily worrying too much about the misconceptions. I would say do some research on whatever your goal is. I think that's probably the most important thing to determine. So what do you want to do? What's your goal? What's your end purpose? And I would say that probably, like Benji said, strength training is considered not the best thing, especially for older people. So I think that that's something that we need to start getting away. The way that I like to train and the way that people who train with me train is really, we don't weight is kind of irrelevant. So what we focus on is right side, left side. So making sure right side and left side are in equal balance, and then back and front are in equal balance. And I actually put a lot more emphasis on the back and the posterior chain as opposed to the front side. So I actually, most probably for the most part, I would do double my work on the back side. So most people, like if you look at it in terms of strength, you'll never find someone with a strong back who is weak, but you could find someone with like a strong chest or good looking chest and good looking biceps that isn't necessarily strong. So I would say focus on the posterior chain as much as possible. So anything that you can't see, all the muscles you can't see, triceps, back, glutes, hamstrings, um, all of that, I think that is really important to focus on more than even the stuff at the front. So, but it is important again to keep that balance. Otherwise, you will have muscle imbalances. Like you'll see people start to, the shoulders will start to round over and their back will start to arch. A lot of that people say is, oh, you don't have good posture. You're not sitting well. You sit all day. A lot of that it does play into that, but at the same time, a big part of that is you have a muscle imbalance. So really, again, going to the root cause, and then as Benji said, a lot of people have back problems in our community, and back problems uh, are preventative, and they're also, you can also ease your pain on back problems quite a bit. I've dealt with some as well. So I this is like speaking from experience again. So strengthening your core, strengthening your glutes, strengthening everything around your back will really help your back out as well. um, and then also just learning as much as you can. Again, everything that you do, anything that's worth doing is a learning process. So I don't have a formal education in fitness, but at the same time, I've probably spent hundreds of hours just reading books and reading articles and watching videos. So there is, again, to say that, I'll say that with caution, because there is a lot of stuff out there, and a lot doesn't necessarily mean good. So have your own filter, and you have to build your own filter over time to filter out what's good and what's bad. But I would say overall, just if you can, try to avoid overthinking things, I would say.
Hello. All right. So I'm assuming you guys can hear me this time.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, perfect. So I don't know why I got cut off last time, but misinformation in the fitness world and South Asian community. Get this a lot. Me and my brother, we both work out, and we get this a lot from both my parents. So the biggest thing is what we need to understand is our lives have changed over the last 50 or 60 years. Not just our lives, but our parents' lives, and that's where the misconception comes from. Because when we think back, when we look back, I get this every day. My mom, my dad, my mom especially would be like, there was no gym before, or there was no strength training before. Why are you guys pushing so much weight? Why are you guys pulling so much weight? Why are you guys eating eating protein or taking protein, or why are you guys eating so much? But when you think back, I mean, think back at all the kitty, think back at all the activities all that our parents have done, right? Farming is huge on its own, and that wasn't just our dads, or just wasn't just the males. There's also the females, right? Even something as simple as picking something up, or helping out in the fields, or even at home, with kids. So they did have, strength training. That was essentially strength training. If anything, they did more. They did a lot more than we are doing now, especially with farming, and that equates in their diet. When we think back, my dad would always bring this up. He'd be like, we used to eat this much daing or this much gyo, and it was okay. It was okay because they had a lot of, calories being burnt. They were burning a lot more than we can even imagine. And that's why they say it's, if you were to go there, it would be a lot harder. It is. It would be a lot harder. Or their bodies were used to it. Their bodies adapted to it, and their bodies needed the same food sources, right, to make up for all this calories burnt. And that's what built up the muscles. That their strength training was different, but at the end of the day, it was the same. And now what happened is, right, now our jobs are a lot different. Some are sitting on desks, some are sitting in cars, some are sitting in trucks, right? But the food sources are still the same. Yeah, maybe we cut down on the sodium a little bit. Maybe we cut down on the butter a little bit, on the ghee a little bit, right? But at the end of the day, it hasn't changed much, and that's where the problem comes. That's where the problem I see comes, at least. I'm touching on 2 points here, but that's what we really, in the South Asian community, that's one thing that we gotta fix, right? We can't just keep fixing the nutrition side of things. We gotta start implementing the strength training, right? How Jaskirat Kaur talked about a lot of women having back problems, and that's what it is. There is no strength training, right? If their backs are prone to back injuries and we aren't preventing it, then it will lead to back injuries. My mom had a back incident as well, and since then, being a kinesiologist myself, I was able to help her out. Right. This is it's close to the start of my degree, but regardless, I did start implementing rehab exercises that I would do with my motor vehicle accident clients, such as bird dog. Right, these are basic rehab exercises that everyone should be doing. Bird dog is one, right? Glute bridges is another one. Dead bugs is another one, right? These are simple exercises that anyone can do and everyone can do that will go a long way. And then you slowly start, building up to it. You start adding reps, you start adding weight, right? It's a start. Everyone has to start somewhere. But the problem is our community is starting way too late. The South Asian community is starting way too late. They start when they have injuries, or they start when they start feeling weak, right? But that can all be prevented. My uncle actually, with Aya, started working out with a personal trainer. He's based in Seattle, so I can't help him much. But he started working at LA Fitness, and he's like age 57, right? And he told me he's like I wish I had started before. His job was a desk job at Boeing, but he's an engineer. But I was just sitting at home, and his body is too weak to even handle itself, right? Because you have to work the muscles. The muscles have to be able to carry the body, right? And if the muscles can't, then that's when the bones start, taking it on the toll. So that's one really big misconception that we have in our community, that we need to start understanding that our lives are a lot different, right? So we need to start implementing strength training, and that could be something as simple as small exercises leading up to it. And it's understandable with COVID, that it's hard to do. Gyms aren't as accessible, right? But there are many exercises that we can just do at home with body weight alone. Touching back on Jaskirat's point, I was thinking like 700 to 1,000 reps. That's insane. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying we should be doing that many reps, but it makes sense. Instead of doing a 1-plate squat for 10 reps, if you do 100 reps with no weight, it should add up eventually, right? And that's what we can do at home. We don't have weights at home, but we still have our body to use, right? Bench press, you got push-ups, right? You want to do lat pull down or any sort of back rowing variation, right? We can do pull-ups, lunges, squats, right? There's a lot of body weight exercises, right? Want to add that cardio into it, we can make it a HIIT exercise, some HIIT training, right? High intensity training, right? Add skipping rope to it, add some jumping jacks, right? Little things that we can do that we gotta implement into our lives. But it's not just us. We want this call, this talk to go beyond us, right? Help out your family members, your brothers, your sisters, right? Because if you can implement it now, it's better now than later, right? We're trying to prevent those injuries, right? We don't just want a good life for the next 20 years. It has to be for the rest of our lives. What we build now is building that foundation and building that base, right? For when we're 60, 70, or 80. That's the best way to look at it, right? Not just building a foundation, but also building our goals, right? We're building that mindset. But what we build today is going to go a long way. And that doesn't necessarily, everyone has, and going back on Imanjit's point, everyone has their own goals, right? Everyone needs to figure out what their goals are. It could be strength training, it could be bodybuilding, it could be physique building, but the core still remains the same, right? We need to start working on that core, and then we can figure out which avenue we want to take in terms of our goals, right? I personally have been kind of in the middle, just kind of trying to be good at everything, trying to keep myself active, look good, feel good, and still be strong at the same time. I think someone's else either asking a question in the question box, or maybe you guys can't hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Hanji, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. But so that's kind of what I was gonna go on. That we do need to, that some of the misconceptions I see when it comes to diet is, we do have to cut down on sodium, on butter, on dairy products a little bit, right? And we can't neglect supplements in terms of vitamins, B12, right? Omega-3s are huge, right? Those are two things that we don't have in our diets. So we got to supplement with those. And whey protein, like I said, just another protein source, but we do need to take the extra step as compared to someone else to get into nutritional values. We need to get our proteins in, our carbs in, our fats in. One piece of advice I can give to you guys is download MyFitnessPal today. MyFitnessPal is a great way to track everything, right? I'm not saying we have to, track our macros to the smallest gram, but it's a start. MyFitnessPal has developed over the years, and it is very good. And even for our diets, it has a lot of vegetarian foods on it. It has a lot of Punjabi dishes on it, right? Dal, sabji, roti. You can make your own. You can start saving your own recipes as well. If you want to really go that one step further and calculate everything, MyFitnessPal really help you keep track of what you're eating, right? And it will also give you a rough estimate of what you should be eating, how many calories you should be getting in, according to your exercise, how much protein, how much carbs, how much fats, and if whether you're going too high on sodium, right? MyFitnessPal will be a big help, right, in terms of keeping track when it comes to working out. Writing stuff down will definitely go a long way. So you can go back and look at it. I personally do that a lot, and it's motivating, right? If you can write things down, your workouts, and keep changing them as you progress, right? And in terms of self-confidence, even just making videos and taking photos, progress, right? Progress is what's going to keep you going. If you don't see that progress, you're not going to keep going, right? But thing is, we don't see the progress unless we save our progress, right? We're not going to, if we work out every day for this week, we're not going to see any progress. But we look back a year from now, we're going to see progress, right? So if like I said, it's all personal at this point, but MyFitnessPal, if I'm just going to end off with these couple points, MyFitnessPal is huge, right? Our nutrition is very big, right? So download that app if you can, right? And then in terms of tracking your workouts, your fitness, right? Have it written down. If you don't write it down, you will not do it, right? This is not just fitness. It goes for business. It goes for anything in life. Writing it down, it will go a long way. So write on your workouts in terms of progress, right? Keep it as if it's personal, keep it to yourself, right? But this is just an extra point if you do want to do it. I do this a lot on Snapchat. Every year I get a memory. This year I got a memory. I did a three plate something squat, and I failed it. But now I'm actually repping that out, right? And it's a very little thing, and it's just for me. No one else knows that, but it's what's keeping me going because next year I want to double that, right? There was 2 or 3 points. I think there's a question. I'm not sure if we want to answer this now. Can I answer this question now, or should we wait till the next part?
We have a Q&A at the end, G.
Okay, perfect. I'll leave that till the end. So that's me ending the point on the South Asian discussion.
So the next question for the speakers is how can the Panth get encouraged to be more active?
With the Panth and it being encouraged to be more active, again referring to Panth Prakash and other Itihasaka Granths, when you look back and you hear the Sakhis of Shaheed Singh, like, you know, when you think of things, for example, how long the Singhs used to, Singh and Singhania used to fight in Jung, when you think about how they stayed on horseback, how they stayed in the jungles, when you think of Bhai Bachitra Singh Ji, against the elephant, these aren't scrawny, just any scrawny men that we're talking about. These are well-built, muscular men. Personally, I think my history, having our history with our Guru Sahibs and with the Shaheed Singh Singhania, the Fauja, I think that is enough motivation for myself. I think people, if they just referred back and just thought back over and over how Guru Nanak Dev Ji went on his the Char Udasiyan by foot, right? If you think about how even Guru Nanak Dev Ji was Shastratari, Guru Nanak Dev Ji also practiced Gatka, comes from back then. Baba Buddha Ji practiced Gatka, right? So this physical fitness comes from back then. Our roots, um, physical fitness is a part of that. We need bhakti and we need shakti, miri piri, the whole concept of that too. Um, just strength is so important. If you think about it, how much bhakti are you going to be able to do if you don't have the shakti to sit through it? So in terms of spirituality, you could only do as much bhakti, you could only do as much seva as your body allows you to. So if you want just to get inspiration from Sikhi, I think that's a great enough reason. And then if you want to dig deeper and you want to go into the grunts and you want to read exactly, what the Singhs were doing, you look back to how big Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji was. They kept 2 horses with them because the horses would get tired after 15 minutes, 30 minutes. They'd have to switch over, right? If you think about all these different things and you bring it back to today, people will say, okay, that was back then, although jang chalde si and whatnot. Hun ki loda. Well, now we have our everyday work. We have, people who go into construction and things like that. Sometimes you need this physical strength for your work. And that should be motivation enough so you don't get injured at work because, having a messed up back isn't fun. If you really want to, think about it, think of the Kisan Morcha that's going on right now. All of those who are sitting right there, right now, they have a lot of strength in them. Not anyone can just go and sit there for months, especially not with how the weather's been lately, right? So there's a whole bunch of, like, I feel personally, I think that's, motivation enough. And then even if you're not motivated, you know, then it comes down to discipline, because you'll be motivated occasionally. You'll be like, okay, maybe you hear a Sakhi and all of a sudden you have this pump and you want to be strong and fit, and then within a few days you kind of forget about it. That's when the discipline starts coming in. You have to discipline yourself to stay fit, just like you have to discipline yourself to do your nitnem, just like you discipline yourself to go to school. The same way you need to discipline yourself to maintain your fitness. It's not always going to be about motivation. It's not always going to be about being encouraged by others. Sometimes you just have to push yourself, not pushing yourself beyond your limits, not pushing yourself too hard to the point of like sickness or any sort of negative emotion, but pushing yourself enough to get past barriers and obstacles, which will only lead to like positive, afters, your positive effects. I think that in order to get the Panth more active, I think we need to start bringing up fitness in the Gurdwara. We need to start having more discussions like this on a wider scale, involve more Sangat, involve the youth, get the elders to, maybe not lift weights, but hand them light 5-pound dumbbells, medicine balls. Starting gyms at the Gurdwara, I think, would be an amazing idea. If we could do that, we could help so much of the Sangat, and then the future generations would be so much better off, because fitness would be a huge part of Sikhi, which it's always been, but it's kind of faded out now. And I think just bringing things into the Gurdwara is going to help the Panth a lot. I'll end there.
Okay, so the question is, how can we encourage the Panth to be more active? I think like ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਥ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ, I don't think we should ever like think that our Panth isn't in a good spot ਕਿਉਂਕਿ Guru Gobind Singh ji ਦੀ ਲਾਡਲੀ ਫੌਜ ਆ, but obviously we should always try to improve ourselves as best as possible. So I think that the way that we can do this, there's multiple ways you can do it, but the way that I'm trying to approach it is with Sing Strength, we're putting on a competition this year. So it's going to be an all-inclusive competition. It has around 6 events. So there's different events. It's like a log press, a deadlift, a max deadlift, a hang for time grip event. It's max push-ups and pull-ups in 1 minute each. It's like 15 calories on the bike, one of those bikes with the big fans in them, and then on the rower as well. So there's a lot of different events that are going to go on in that whole competition, but the whole general idea behind it is, if we want to get people encouraged, you kind of have to show them what we're capable of. You guys still hear me? Sorry, my screen just went black. But in terms of the way that I think about things is, I think that if you can show people what they're capable of, so like if you haven't seen a Sikh, or if you haven't seen like another core working out, or you haven't seen them being able to achieve certain things, you haven't seen a Singh do something, it's very hard to be motivated or think that you can do it. And that applies to everything. That applies to like jobs and certain areas, and applies to every single community as well. If you see people in your community doing things or you hear about it, uh, you're going to be more likely to do it. Like for us, like I'll give you one example that just happened this week. It's we talked about this in a podcast that I work on, but really the whole Nishan Sahib going up on the Dili Takht, that doesn't necessarily happen in with any other community or anywhere else, right? It happens in the community they hear Dili Takht par bogi aap guru ki fauj, where they hear Panth ki jeet, where they hear Chul de Nishan rahe Panth Maharaj ke. When you hear these things, when you see them, you feel like you're capable of them, right? ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਗੜਗੱਜ ਬੋਲੇ ਆ, right? They're filled with power, and that's kind of where we need to focus, is showing our capability, right? So you have to, with the panth, with the sangat, you have to raise the water level, right? So one of the ways to raise the water level is show the top end. And what we really want to do with this competition year over year is, I know we're going to start at kind of know where our starting point is going to be this year, what our competitors are going to be able to lift. But what we want to do with that is, next year it's going to go up, the year after that it's going to go up. We're going to get new competitors, people that we didn't even know before in a few years are going to show up, and they're going to be able to just absolutely destroy what we did in the first 2 years. So that's really the idea behind it, is really we'll raise the water level by showing everyone what is our peak, what is the best of the best look like, and then you have the layers start to build in. Because even if you're not at the best of the best level, you have an aim, you have like a purpose. So like, again, when you're setting goals and you're setting aims, if you're aiming too low, you're not going to get the best of your own ability. So for my purposes, that's what I'm trying to put on. And my goal for the competition is really, in 2 to 3 years, I want it to be at a level that I'm not even able to compete at, because everyone is stronger than me. So we're going to do about 10 athletes a year, and try to get the best people out, and try to, this is for Singhs and Kaurs, and try to really push the fitness level of our community, and push it as far as we can at the top level. And it's similar where this idea comes from. I'll just quickly explain it. Is, if you look at Tesla is one of the biggest companies in the world, and this is something similar that they did when they first came out with their first car. They came out with a Tesla Roadster, which was an expensive car, and it had a very niche market, and there weren't many people that were able to afford it. The second car that they came out was the Model S, which was a little more affordable, and it spread out to a wider build and a wider amount of people. And then the third one is now the Model 3, which is a lot more affordable, and everyone has access to it. So starting off at the top level is important. Along with that, on the Sing Strength page, I am going to be sharing like basically my workout progressions. So I think that a lot of people don't necessarily know where to start, so I'm kind of just going through where I'm starting this year. So a lot of it is volume based work, a lot of it is making sure that I build my body equally on each side, and I have a well-rounded base. And then it's going to go all the way up until the competition, where I'm peaking, where I'm really going for one heavy number or multiple heavy numbers in certain events. So that's going to be the whole journey. And then I think, in terms of where to start, I think everyone should just stick to the basics, and then find places to start. Like, you can start with programming, in terms of like, there's 5x5, which is probably where most people start. It's not a bad program. It's actually a good way to kind of just know your baseline, especially when you don't have no experience before. That a lot of people are just scared to try because they don't know what to do. So like, even they can get a gym membership, or they can get something, but when they go to the gym, they just don't know what to do. So, and this is a lot of stuff that I just found by watching stuff on YouTube, and I taught myself, and then eventually I started reading books, and eventually I did like probably like 10 to 15 different programs, and then I was able to judge which one works best for me. So there is a lot of stuff out there, and if you want to follow my personal workouts, you can, and you can do the same workouts. I think for most general people, it will be pretty beneficial if you just follow along, because I think that's a good starting point if you just don't know what to do.
All right. Just to kind of go based off their points once again, they made some great points. Encouraging the punt and the youth. I mean, I feel like that's going back to those points. It's a very niche point of view. A few great examples. Imanjit Singh with the lifting competition. When I look back, California just did one as well last year, and I believe Jaskirat Kaur took part in it and did amazing. And then looking back even further, England, I'm not exactly sure where, has been doing that for the past couple of years, and that's where it all started for me. But that's when I kind of kicked into that second gear for working out, because I've never had that for myself. I've never had someone to look up to, or people to look up to, or ask questions, or figure out how to do this. I kind of had to figure it out all on my own. I'm not saying Surrey, Vancouver, BC. I mean, there's a very big community of Sikhs, right? But when it comes to gym, when it comes to working out, it's everyone's to themselves. We kind of have to work together. We're not quite on the level of England is the biggest example. I've talked to a few things from there, and what they're doing is crazy. They have meetups every now and then. They have video shoots, photo shoots, competitions, and it's huge. But it's huge for different reasons, right? It's a community in the north that's living. They have to show their power. There's a big portion of racism there, and you can't walk on the streets alone, and that's their reason, right? And that's why they're bringing the community together in the gym, show them you have people every now and then. I mean, we have like that little thing that was bullied. Look at how the community came together, right? What their reason is, they're preventing that, and that's huge. That's I've seen gyms in England with photos of Guru Sahibs, or not Guru Sahibs, but Pandavale, Santi, and it's crazy walking into that power you feel walking into a gym, and you just see things around you, things and Singhanese. It's actually amazing, and that's kind of what I feel like, you know, needs to be done, but just kind of following their path, not exactly what they're doing, but just kind of touching on things, and what Jaskirat Kaur said, if Gurdwaras can start to implement some sort of physical activity programs and activities to keep the youth and the Sangat involved, there's two benefits to it, right? They have a place to go to, and the second benefit is obviously health benefits, mental health benefits. But the biggest thing I see is, like I said, something I didn't have is the opportunity to ask questions, to see what people are doing, how I can do that, right? Instead of kind of saving those couple of years or saving yourself from injury, and not kind of looking into the wrong places, right? If you have someone to talk to or speak to, you don't have to. You will avoid the people that will give you the wrong advice, right? There's wrong advice everywhere. I'm not saying there isn't, but you won't be inclined to take it, right? By wrong advice, I mean taking the wrong approach, taking steroids or other supplements that are banned, right? Or that are harmful, right, to your body, or taking doses that are harmful to your body, right? Like I said, there's nothing against that. I'm not against that. I'm not for it either. It has its own market, right? It has, if you're on a specific level of bodybuilding, it's actually considered very common, right? But those are, like I said, those are clinically doses for those competitors at that level that have access to clean supplements, right? Which is not accessible for the everyday youth. And one thing I've noticed is, like, 4 or 5 out of 10 people have taken steroids, or have taken some sort of supplementation. Sorry, supplementation is the wrong word over here, but have taken some sort of benefit from those to help them in their physique. And most of the time, they're not even competing. They're not even competing in bodybuilding. They're not even powerlifting, right? because for those shows you do get tested, and for the shows you don't get tested, but they're not even in those. So what are they taking it for? That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest misconception we have, right? They're just taking it for their self-esteem or taking it to show others, right? But why are they in that position? It's because of us, right? We don't have somewhere for them to go. One biggest, actually, a couple of years back, one big example or person that I spoke to that was really helpful for me was maybe the Sangat from Toronto might know him, Jaskirat Singh. I don't know him personally. I have talked to him every now and then when I ask questions. And what was amazing was he competed as a Sikh bodybuilder, right? He got there on stage, he wears the stud, and the biggest thing was he didn't shave. Being a Sikh, you don't shave, and he competed with his body here, and that was huge because you don't see that. Nothing against the Singhs that don't that shave whatnot. They have their own goals in mind. They have their own you know physiques whatnot. I'm not touching on that, but what I'm saying is that was really amazing to see, and it was motivating. I never even personally thought about competing as a bodybuilder until I saw him. And then I actually thought to myself, that's something I can do. That's something I will do. And my goal of doing that will be for the mere purpose of, being able to show that you can do it. Or just for the younger generation that you can compete as a Singh, you can compete as a vegetarian, you can compete naturally, right? And that's the biggest thing, right? Because there's those misconceptions that you cannot do something without this or this or this. And that's when the Sikh youth, at least when it comes to, that's what the bodybuilding, not the bodybuilding, the strength and conditioning, or just the fitness community in the Sikh and in our religion hasn't grown much because there's no one up there to look up to, no one up there to ask questions. So going back to how we can encourage everyone, just having programs set up, right? What Imanjit is doing with the competition is actually something I had planned for last Vaisakhi. It wasn't implemented or anything, but it was there before COVID happened. I had thought about it. I had gotten the idea from California, right? And it's something that we need over here in BC, at least, something for the Sikh community to kind of look forward to, train together for, right? Have programs set up for, and then just to compete, friendly competition, compete against each other. And what that does is it keeps you away from things. It keeps you away from drugs, keeps you away from alcohol. Like I said, that's a whole subject on its own, and I'm not trying to go against it or anything. But at this point, what I'm saying is, I've been playing soccer for the most part of my life at a fairly high division, and I started playing and I started working out. But the reason I haven't touched alcohol or any sort of drugs is because I want to keep my body as healthy as possible. I want to be as athletic as possible. I want to be at the best I can be, and it's that reason I haven't, along with other reasons, of course, but I do have sports and fitness to take credit for that because till this day I haven't, right? Along with steroids or any other substance that can harm me in any way. And that's what, that's what we need. That's just another form of encouragement. Aside from religion alone, that can also be another reason for people to stay away. And that's what we don't have, right? So we need to just create the belief that you can do this. Everyone has their own goals. Like I said, I'm kind of going based off competition. It could just be something as simple as living a healthy life and fitness, right? But just to be able to show that yes, you can do it as a vegetarian. Yes, you could do it as being natural. And I'm actually shocked. I mean, every now and then I do question answers on Instagram or just talk to people or friends or family, and they're amazed at how lean you can be and have muscle and still be strong at the same time. Being a vegetarian and natural, but it's all possible, right? Being a vegetarian, your diet's already 50% cleaner than a non-vegetarian diet. And that goes a long way in terms of staying lean, right?
I'm just gonna comment on a few things quickly that Baji said. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have seen Baji's page, but he has an incredible physique, which is something that, again, to his point, I had never necessarily seen for someone who's vegetarian and drug free, which is incredibly impressive. So I think that that's something that's good to see, that someone at a vegetarian and drug free level can do that. Along with myself, one of my good friends who is not here today, his name's Sukneet Singh. He helps me. We run the Sing Strength page together. And for those of you that don't know, Sukneet is actually the first baptized Sikh football player who was an Amritari as well. So Amritari is a Singh who used to play football. He played tackle as well as guard at the university level, which he played really well, and it was something that all of us in our community were very proud of. And I think that just goes to show that someone can do it in our community, and it's these trailblazers. Unfortunately, a lot of us were first generation or second generation in these countries, so our parents did put a lot of emphasis on like education and studying and all of that. But as we become more like embedded in this society, this is where we're gonna take our next steps. This is where we're gonna put more emphasis on arts and culture and physical sports and all of that. So I think that we do need trailblazers in our community. We do need people to set standards and show people what we are capable of and what they are capable of as well. Are we good to
We'll move
answer
on
questions?
to Hanji. So, the first question we have from the Sangat was, how are you adapting to the challenges to keep fit in COVID-19 since gyms are closed?
Do you want to start with that, Buddy?
Sure. I've had a home gym for the past 6 years. So this was one of the things that I invested in a long time ago, and I actually just rebuilt my home gym this year as well. So I th- I think if you're thinking about getting a home gym, I would say go for it. There are obviously upsides and downsides to it. So if you're someone who needs social encouragement and some people to push you, and that's what you need, then it's probably not the best for you. But if you're someone who can just grind, and it is more of a grind, and if you're someone who can be self-motivating and push yourself, and then I would say get a home gym. It's probably the best investment that I've ever made.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I just recently got some gym equipment. I will say though, gym equipment is expensive. I got a new barbell. It was $150 on its own. Um, and it's not even a special one. This is just something to kind of pass the time with. Um, Personally, I do prefer the gym environment, but because most of us don't have that right now, having a home gym is great. If you don't have access to or are unable to afford lots of gym equipment, then stick to some basic things. For example, resistance bands. I actually bought this little set, I guess you can call it, of resistance bands, which go up to 150 pounds off of Amazon, and it was about $25, I think, at most. So you can use resistance bands by putting it on the door, and you could get leg workouts, arms, back, chest, maybe. There's like different ways to be creative with bands. I also got a sandbag. So I got the bigger size for a sandbag, which goes up to about 200 pounds. The bag itself costed about $100 some, and then the sand I got from Home Depot for like $12, like 200 pounds of sand. Um, so if you can't, and then of course you have body weight too. So push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges. Go to the park if you can and do pull-ups with the monkey bars or balance on beams. Um, Anything that you could do with your body weight or minimal equipment. Get heck, go into your fridge, get a gallon of milk and start curling with it. Be creative. There's a lot of things you can do. Uh, you know, put stuff in your shoebox, wrap it up, and then start doing leg curls with that. There's a lot of different ways to get creative with like very little or with just stuff around the house. Carry your siblings if you have them sit on your shoulders and squat with them, or push press them, whatever, like anything works.
If you have the environment, like I'm not sure where you live, but in the summer times in Toronto, in the winter, obviously it's super cold. But in the summer times, I spent most of my summer, like I would go on bike rides and go on hikes and all of that, and that's mostly pretty much free. So like you can bike ride and get really in really good shape. So that's something that I think most people have a bike. So or you can just go on hikes. So you can do that as well.
Yeah, hiking, walking, going on a jog, skateboard, longboarding. I got a longboard this past summer. It's been great. Super fun to ride, and it's good cardio. Personally, I also my ustaji has a few horses, so I go horse riding. So if you have access to anything like that, like anything at all, just go for it. There's a lot of different ways to maintain physical fitness. It's not only weightlifting, it's not only running. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. And starting with just 30 minutes of walking a day is a really great start. Should we move on to the next question? Or
Hanji.
Yeah, you guys can move on to the
So,
next question. Sorry, you guys touched up on basically everything. I'll wait for the next question.
okay.
so the next question was, it was for you, Panji, and it was for Punjabi women having issues with fatigue and iron deficiency. What are some tips and tricks to keep them motivated and the fitness going?
One of the biggest things you could do with your iron deficiency, because recently I've been fine with my iron, Maharaja's Kirpa, but back when I used to play tennis in high school, I was constantly deficient. And one of the best things to do is go get some good supplements. And I say good supplements because I was taking iron supplements for a few years because my iron levels were low, and I got tested and my iron levels dropped even further, which doesn't make sense. But okay. So definitely go and either, consult a doctor or physician and find some really good supplements, do some research. If you don't want to go and get some iron supplements, then bollock, things like spinach and other leafy greens is where you're going to find most of your vegetarian iron. Because, we don't eat, well, if you're vegetarian, you don't eat red meat. That's where you'd be getting a lot of iron from. But spinach and other leafy greens are a great way to get your iron. If you can do supplements, do that too. Um, in terms of being motivated, if you are extremely tired, don't push yourself too much. If you're in pain, you want to take medications. Again, you want to win in fitness for men and women. You want to do things based on how your body feels. If you're just a little bit groggy, then you could push yourself. But if you're just really having a bad day, and you don't want to work out, it's okay to give yourself an occasional rest day. Or, if you're having a bad workout, it's okay to kind of slow down, lighten up with the weights or do a few, less reps. Just listen and adapt to your body. Don't constantly just, worry about pushing and pushing and pushing yourself. So if you need rest, take the rest. If you want to move around, but you don't want to lift heavy, or do something too strenuous, then do something as simple as like light yoga. There's lots of different ways to go about it. But one of the biggest things I'll say is don't push yourself and get iron in from either leafy greens or supplements.
Thank you. The next question was, what does Gurbani say about fighting procrastination and laziness? And do you guys have any tips for that?
So Gurbani talks a lot about laziness, called alis, and there's a lot there are a few panktiyan. I don't have any on my mind right now exactly, but if you look up, just in general, if you were to look up um, how to avoid laziness, in Sikhi, or what does Gurbani say about laziness, there will be a couple of links to Katha, with Kathavachiks explaining how to get rid of laziness or how to overcome it. And the way to, I think one of the ways, not including Sikhi, because Sikhi way to get rid of laziness, you want to do your bhakti, and this is your connection with Maharaj, you doing Ardas Benti. But to kind of get rid of laziness in general, you'd want to basically build up a discipline. I think if you were to writing down a schedule helps so much. If you were to write down, okay, I'm going to wake up at this time, I'm going to eat at this time, I'm going to work out at this time, and so on, it's a lot easier to stick to something than to wake up and think, okay, I'll do this later, I'll do that in the evening, that in the morning. So writing out everything is going to help a lot. And look up Katha for what Maharaj says on laziness, because there's a lot to be said, and I'm sure that whatever's on YouTube is probably going to be a lot more in depth than what I'm going to say. I do think that basics of Sikhi, and I believe it's Nanak Nam, I'd have to double check that, but I think they have a few videos on laziness, so you can check those out.
Just kind of going off of what Jaskirat Kaur said, discipline is huge, right? Having that schedule. I mean, that's something Guru Sahib has put in us from the start with Amrit Vela, right? Discipline is huge. You have to wake up, you have to get the meditation in, right? Along with the physical fitness that comes afterwards, right? With anything regarding fitness, it's having that discipline, it's having that consistency, right? Every day is a build-up. It takes 21 days. Well, from what I've read, it takes 21 days to build a habit. Those 21 days will be hard, but the 21 days afterwards will be a lot easier, right? It's a build-up of everything day in, day out. One thing that's helped me is, along with Gurbani and everything, motivational podcasts are another good way. I mean, sometimes I'm working out listening to motivational podcasts because along with fitness, along with life and just all the stress in life, sometimes you just need that motivation. And it could be something as simple as, getting bored and writing some goals down in your room, something you can look at every day, right? That it goes a long way, writing your goals down, having a discipline, having a schedule, something to go by. You know what you're doing at this time. You have reminders put in, right, that help you along with that. But like I said, going back to that's something that I give credit to my dad, especially for that. He's really instilled that in us, and that's what it is. That's what it's all about. Anything in life. Obviously, we have our off days. Nothing wrong about that, right? We have our rest days. We have our cheat days. That's totally fine, right? It's that 1 or 2 days aren't gonna really impact you in a negative way, anyways. But it's the rest of the 28 days, 29 days that are gonna go a long way. So my biggest take on this is motivational podcasts, right? That goes for business, that goes for life, that goes for sports and fitness. It will definitely help you, whatever form of motivation that you think is beneficial for you. Yep.
Oh, I'm good to go to the next question.
So the next question was about dry scooping versus regular consumption for pre-workout. Is there any real difference and any cons for dry scooping?
For this one, oh my gosh. Um, so I prefer just mixing pre-workout and water. Dry scooping is fine. I haven't noticed it making any difference, and I haven't come across any research article which says it makes a difference. The people who pump up dry scooping is just, it's kind of like a gym thing. It's kind of one of those things that certain people just do, but there's no actual research behind it, at least not that I've come across. I'd say the only con to that I know of for dry scooping is that you could get it stuck in your throat and you'll probably end up coughing it out, because that's happened to me once or twice. And I was at the Gurdwara and I was messing around with the kids um, at Gatka practice, and I was like, "Oh guys, watch this," and then I struggled to get that all down. But that's about it.
Imanjit, are you gonna go next?
No, I'm good. I don't really use pre-workout. So
Okay. In terms of dry scooping or taking it in, like Jaskirat Kaur said, there's no actual evidence or research studies behind, not that I know of, at least, right, that show any benefit to it. In terms of me feeling a benefit, not really. I'd like to think that it'll hit you a bit harder, or it'll go down faster, and you'll start to feel the effects of it faster. But realistically speaking, no, I don't. I really don't think there's much of a difference. It is, like the Spirit Core said, more of a gym thing, which I don't understand why. It's just the ease of, Actually, no. So the times I did dry scoop, I'll be honest, was when I hated the taste of that pre-workout. I could not drink it with water. So I just took a scoop and then just downed it with water. Because then you don't have to, you had an excessive amount of taste all at once. But that's like any pre-workout in your mouth. There could be a good tasting pre-workout, but when you dry scoop, it's not going to taste good. But it's gone in a second. You don't have to take, 5 or 6 sips of it to get it down. That's the only benefit I see. And it's been more of a trend recently, TikTok especially. Good and bad at the same time, because yes, it can irritate the throat. It all comes out, and once it irritates the throat, sometimes you can get stuck there. If it stays dry, so that's kind of annoying. It's gonna mess up your workout. Another, from what like I said, this is not off any research or based off studies or anything. This is merely based off TikTok, but this is something that I came across. So don't go by it, but from what I've heard is it does affect your enamel on your tooth, because a lot of pre-workouts have citric acid, beta-alanine, and a lot of citrus type of ingredients. It's for the tingliness or the taste, or even the color and whatnot. And when you're putting all that in your mouth and just kind of swirling it around to mix it up with water, like I said, I don't know too much about that, but it has been said that it does affect your enamel. But that's also TikTok, so who knows? Other than that, no official evidence. Drink pre-workout how you would like, and whatever method you prefer.
The next question Sangat had was, what exercises or workouts would you recommend for people that are just getting
I'd
Uh,
say, go for it.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna go with the basic. If you're just getting into exercise, one of the most important things to do is to learn your basic forms first. You want to make sure that you stick to body weight exercises and you're positioning your body correctly. So when you're squatting, you're not bending forward too much. Same thing while you're lunging. When you're doing your push-ups, you're not arching your back. So start with body weight and start working on form first. Then move on to lightweight. So for example, squatting, but squatting with an empty barbell. And then slowly building on from that.
I would say probably the biggest thing is I think sometimes people's egos get in the way, and that's very easy to happen. But I would say your main goal when you're starting out should be first, like Benji said, focus on form, focus on making sure that you have correct balance left and right, uh, as well. So like is one leg is stronger than the other, you make sure that you balance that out. And I personally, I don't do bodybuilding, but I do incorporate it a lot in my training. So I would say anyone starting out, I think it's actually beneficial to start out with a bodybuilding program where you're doing a lot of different stuff and a lot of movements, and you're really focusing on symmetry and making sure that you have balance in your body. I think there's a lot of benefit to that, even when I'm starting my training. So before I start to get into like a heavy cycle where I'm lifting, I'll spend like 2 months just working on making sure that my body's even and everything is working well. So in the strength community, like in things like strongman and powerlifting, sometimes bodybuilding is looked down upon or looked at it in a different way. But even in terms of like sports, it's sometimes looked at a different way. But I think bodybuilding has definitely a really good benefit, and I think that all types like strength training and endurance training, you should mix them around. You should mix them in throughout the year. So throughout the year, you're getting a bit of everything. And that's what I kind of do to keep it interesting for myself as well. So after you start lifting after a few years, you might start getting bored of doing the same thing over and over again. So throughout the year, I'll probably have like 4 different cycles where I'm focusing on a different thing. And that kind of keeps it interesting for me, and it helps me stay well balanced.
Yeah, just touching on what Jaskirat Kaur and Imanjit Singh said. Um, the best approach is obviously just going off of just learning the form. Form and technique is huge, and that goes for compound exercises as well as machines, as well as stretching or even mobility exercises. Learning the correct form and just building the mind to muscle connection. Just so you know when you are working out, you know what you're working out. You feel what you're working out, and that allows you to focus on that just a little bit more. If you can build that to start off with, it's great. In terms of specializing in a sport or powerlifting or bodybuilding and whatnot, I wouldn't focus too much on that. Focus more so on just building that strength, right? And through various techniques. It could be CrossFit, it could be bodybuilding, it could be powerlifting, right? But just have a good balance, right? There's things. One thing I've learned is there's things in every sport that you pick up on, right? That just it's just another it's another weapon in your arsenal. For example, right? There's things in CrossFit you'll pick up, right? It could be from hip training. In powerlifting, it could be strength. In bodybuilding, it could be tweaking those small muscles, right? But there's each and every category has your own benefit. So I wouldn't say I would say don't limit yourself, right? And try different programs, see what works for you. But like I said, just build that core, right? And that core means building that core strength, the lower back strength, right? And with the machines, you're able to work out those smaller muscles individually, just to kind of work on that balance, right? With a squat, for example, you notice an imbalance, but yeah, as much as it does help with overall body strength, you can't really target a specific muscle, right? So that's, like I said, don't limit yourself. Have the opportunity to do machines or compound exercises, or even just hit training or CrossFit, right? So that at the end of the day will lead into one place. If you do end up going powerlifting, you'll have that you have the benefits of CrossFit and bodybuilding that lead into powerlifting, and vice versa. That's the best advice I guess I can give. Don't limit yourself too much, and technique and form. Along with that, stretching and cooling down. If you can have a good warm up, it will go a long way. I didn't start warming up properly until later in my years. Had I done it before, I mean, my shoulder strength or shoulder development would have been a lot more, because people run into shoulder problems due to inefficient stretching and warming up, especially during bench, right? Knee problems is a big thing that people, and don't neglect certain workouts due to issues or injuries, because overcome the injuries, heal yourself, then start there. It's not the exercise that's causing it. Figure out the root cause of the problem, and it usually has to do with form, right, or stretching or warming up, and yeah, that's it.
Someone, another
Sorry.
question. Does anyone else, any of the other speakers want to add to that?
No.
Okay, so the next question was, what certifications would you recommend for people getting into fitness?
This one depends on where you are. So within America, I know, for example, I have the NASM certification, so the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I'm not sure how it would be in Canada, UK, or Australia, or anywhere else, but here, NASM is one of the biggest certifications you can get. There's also the ACE certification. I'm planning on working on the CSCS, which is, so NASM is a bit more like personal trainer style, working with, a variety of clients. The CSCS is more of a specialization, so that stands for Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. With this certification, you get to move on to working with athletes, specifically, in the strengthening field, instead of working with the general population. This is something that you'll just have to kind of look up and figure out what goes in your country, I guess.
feel like they do overlap. So ACE is very well known. NASM is also well known. There are a few in Canada. It all depends on the type of demographic or audience you're targeting. But as far as my understanding, NASM is considered one of the higher ones, and ACE is also there. And it does overlap. It is certified, and it is okay in both Canada and America. I feel like, I'm not too sure about YMCA, but I'm not sure if that targets the same demographic. That may be for classes or whatnot. But YMCA, and I feel like there was NSCA. I'm not sure exactly what that stands for, but no, it's true. Yeah, they overlap pretty well. And like I said, these tend to be, they all have their specializations, with their primary focus being on personal training, if that's what you are looking into getting into. And every employer has their own experiences required and certifications required, but for the most part, these are it. So you can do your research, especially with COVID going on. I believe they are mainly online-based programs now, and I'm not saying fairly easy to achieve, but there's levels that you can get. So do your research, figure out what level you need, and just kind of go forward with that. And that's the whole personal training side of things. In terms of other certifications, right? Then you'll need a higher level of education. So, for example, as a kinesiologist, I'm not sure if it's the same in America. As a kinesiologist, meeting NASM afterwards gives me a certain level of certification that's a bit higher than someone without a bachelor degree. So, like I said, do your research, figure out what you need, and we're always here to answer your questions. And yeah.
Another question was, can you share tips about maintaining longevity when it comes to training?
When maintaining longevity, something that we kind of already discussed about was having this workout which you won't get bored of. So if you're only doing a specific type of workout and you're doing the same thing, you're not going to stick to it for a very long time unless you're extremely dedicated to it. So switching things up, adjusting to, keeping things exciting and also not constantly going heavy, allowing your body to take breaks, trying out different types of workouts, and finding ways to motivate and discipline yourself is what's going to keep you in this field. Pretty much.
Sorry. But no, that's right. That's about it. Just keeping yourself active, keeping yourself changing, keep on shocking that body. Change things up. Try not to get into that routine, where you'll get bored of it or your body will get used to it, because your body will get used to it. Our bodies are made to get not get used to things, but become very efficient at doing what it's doing. So what, in terms of pushing it harder, you have to change things up, right? I've noticed that recently. I haven't swam in over 7 to 8 months now. Actually, no, since last year because of COVID. And for one of our classes, being a kinesiology major, we get the opportunity to do certain things. So one of my classes, we are swimming for 2 or 3 sessions, and the pool's booked out for us, so within the COVID restrictions and whatnot. But one thing I noticed was we were doing laps for a full hour, and I was exhausted. I was done, and that's when it hit me. Like, I have no physical conditioning anymore because soccer's been put on hold, and all I've been doing is working out and eating essentially. Right, school's at home, so you're rarely going out unless it's for work or whatnot. So there's times you realize things, but you gotta make those changes. So in terms of, that's when I realized, like, I've been neglecting certain things. So make sure you're hitting everything you need to, whether it's physical fitness. Sorry, can you guys hear me right now?
Yeah, it's good
Hi.
now.
Okay. Yeah, whether it's strength or conditioning, it could be anything that you need to target. But just keep changing things up and just kind of go from there. In terms of longevity, learning the right form, learning the right techniques, and then implementing them will go a long way. It'll prevent injuries, it'll prevent chronic injuries, and it'll prevent long-term injuries. Yep, that's it.
Another question someone asked was, if we exercise in the morning, should we do it before or after breakfast?
I think this really just depends on the person. If you're someone who gets groggy after you eat, then you'd want to exercise before working out. If you struggle working out while fasted because you need the calories, then eat, give your body some time to digest and then work out. It's crucial that you let your body, kind of digest the food so you get the energy. I make this mistake quite often. I don't know why, but I was complaining about it on my story yesterday too. I ate a burger right before working out and I struggled. I don't know why. But if you're gonna work out after breakfast, give yourself time to let the food go through.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it. There's not it all. You gotta have a feel for your body. See what your body wants. Right. Don't push it. Don't force it too much. Fasted workouts have been a thing recently. Like I said, you gotta do your research in terms of whether they make a difference or not. In terms of from what I know, it's more of a personal thing. People that want to do a faster workout, it's because of their diet plan, whatnot. Maybe they're fasting for 8 or 9 hours, or sometimes 10 hours, and their workout falls in between. But I personally can't work out without having food in me. So that morning smoothie is usually what I do, and then give yourself some time. Like Jaskirat Kaur said, give yourself some time to digest it, right? Because at the end of the day, if you think about it this way, you're exerting force, working out or doing some sort of activity, but at the same time, your body is digesting food, and that does take some sort of energy, right? So that's two systems working out at once. And just in general, like there'd be days that I've had where I made the mistake of eating too much before a deadlift session, and now I'm struggling to put my belt on. But it's not just putting the belt on; it's when I do put the belt on and I'm pulling the deadlift. It's the force I'm putting on my body, on my stomach, and everything. It can be close to coming up. So make sure you plan things out, right? I best way is, like I said, everyone's body is different, but hour and a half before any sort of activity is a good rule of thumb to just kind of go off of. And but in terms of faster workouts, like I said, that comes to what your goals are, what your diet's looking like, whether it's fast or not, and whether you see the benefits in it or your body sees the benefits in a fast workout, and if you have the energy for it. Yeah, that's it.
Those are all the questions we have for our speakers. Thank you so much to all of our speakers that came today. Anyone that wants to follow them, you can find their Instagram pages in the lifestyle chat or announcements. Do give them a follow.
Thank you guys very much for giving me this opportunity and from allowing me to answer your questions. If you do have any questions, you guys can feel free to message me. And once again, thank you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Likewise, thank you so much, guys, for being here and sitting through and listening to us this whole time. Same thing. If you have any questions, feel free to text me, and I'll get back to you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.